Missouri Senate Committee on Economic and Workforce Development is being called to order. Since we don't have a quorum to give members more time to arrive, we're going to go ahead and go into a subcommittee and get public testimony and hearings started. We will start first with Senate Bill 294. Senator Brattin, if you would like to come on up and proceed when you're ready.
Your second, yeah. I didn't see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Rick Brattin, 31st Senatorial District, Cass, Bates, and Johnson County. I've got Senate Bill 294 before you. What this is, we've actually heard this bill on numerous occasions from several different sponsors, phasing out of personal property tax, over an extended period till it's basically zeroed out. What it would do with with inflation or CPI in injunction with that, whenever there would be an increase on the real property aspect, that increase would decrease what the amount of personal property tax would be until those chunks basically zero out the personal property. The reason I think probably one of the most egregious forms of taxation is I believe in both, but I think especially with personal property, you've already paid the sales tax on that item. You've already been levied a level of taxation on that purchase, but to continually have to pay rent, especially right after Christmas, and we all know that we've got to write that great big check right after Christmas. It's one of the most hated forms of taxation. Just ask your constituents, and they'll make you well aware of their hatred of that. So this would, it wouldn't be a detriment to local governance and the capability of funding. It would just get rid of this form of taxation. So be happy to answer any questions.
Senator, question? Proceed.
Hi, Senator. Thanks for presenting this. Let me ask a real quick question. Do you know how much of the personal property tax is allocated to our resources? Like how much of what we're paying in personal property tax, I don't have my tax bill in front of me, goes to like fire, libraries, police, school districts, and back to some of the municipalities?
Well, they're all kind of lumped into a bag, same bag as it's all lumped in the local revenues, but I can get you the exact information and see what that breakdown would be, but it would be pivoting over to the real property. So it's really, you wouldn't be making much of you wouldn't actually be making a sacrifice in the actual revenues of that.
Okay. If you can give me some numbers on that, 'cause I just want to make sure that before I can support something like this, that it's not affecting our local communities.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, further questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, thank you, Senator. We'll go with those in support. Anyone here in support of Senate Bill 294? Seeing none, anyone in opposition? Seeing one for now. Gentlemen, make sure you fill out a witness form, and please proceed when you're ready. Make sure your microphone is on. It looks like it is, so you should be ready to go.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kenny Moore. I'm the Boone County Assessor.
If you could just make sure it's close enough it picks it up so anyone can hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sorry. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kenny Moore. I'm the Boone County Assessor. I'm here also on behalf of the Missouri State Assessors Association. This bill, as it's been introduced here, would phase out personal property. What it does, though, and I think the sponsor kind of mentioned this already, it would shift that burden over to real property. Now, one of the things I've heard most often this year down here at the Capitol testifying is we're taxing people out of their homes. So this would just be an added amount that we're placing on those individuals that we're taxing out of their homes. One thing that it does do also, it does carve out the blind pension fund and leaves it assessed at 33 1/3%. What that ultimately would do to me in my office and all the assessors in the state is we would have to have two assessed values for that personal property. We would have an assessed value for the blind pension fund, and then we would have a assessed value for all the other entities. So basically, instead of, in Boone County, we have about 80,000 vehicles. That's 80,000 values. I would have 160,000 values. It would be a logistical nightmare from a programming standpoint to have the modifications done to these systems to allow this. Plus, there's nothing in the bill that provides any kind of funding for the counties to make those changes. So for those reasons, I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for this witness? All right, seeing none, thank you, gentlemen, for braving the interesting blizzard-like weather this morning after we were outside last night in T-shirts.
Pretty rough coming down.
Absolutely. All right, any further witnesses in opposition? All right, seeing none, witnesses for informational purposes only. Seeing none, Senator, any closing remarks?
Al, thank you very much for the hearing.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 294. Up next will be Senate Bill number 227, presented by Senator Carter. When you get seated, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members, Senator Jill Carter, representing this 32nd District, Jasper and Newton County. This is an amazing bill. You're going to love it. This bill basically takes a measure to try to prevent economic boycotts, something that we're seeing especially in Europe and we've begun to see in the States, is boycotts in relation to forms of businesses that are driving social agendas. And so this bill basically is a statement that says that it prohibits public entities from entering into contracts with companies that engage in economic boycotts of key industries such as fossil fuels, timber, mining, agriculture, and firearms. It also safeguards against boycotts targeting companies based on their environmental practices, corporate governance, or certain medical policy positions. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
One for me first. Can you just give an example of how that would work, or what it looks like what type of boycott you're talking about?
Yeah, so what you're starting to see, this is going on and impacting especially agriculture really heavily over in Europe right now, and is starting to kind of trickle into America, where there is talk of if you're not going all green, then you're targeted on how there is a practice of reporting that goes down to the minuscule level. So if a company manufactures or distributes certain products, there's accountability that has to go to the state or to the feds on where and how those products are being produced. So if you're a plastic bag company, or you're an agricultural company that isn't using a green tractor, that's the kind of reporting that is being implemented in some places. And so we just want to ensure that those kinds of things do not happen here in the state of Missouri.
Well, I'm proud to say I drive green tractors.
John Deere Green?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Any questions for the bill sponsor? Senator Washington, please proceed.
Hi.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. You mentioned Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think technically the United States is an economic boycott from Europe. And they've had those forever. But what I don't think they do is restrict contracts with governmental entities because of economic boycotts. And what are your thoughts on how this affects their constitutional rights as businesses to go on? Because a boycott is a form of free speech. Supreme Court has said that for the 190 years or however long the Supreme Court has been in existence. So how are we going to get around what the actual law of the land is?
Well, most everything is very vertically aligned. Bigger businesses are bigger, and you don't have a lot of deviance or variance from those big corporations now. Even though you see there's 15, 20 labels under a certain brand that usually is housed in one company. And so that influence has grown a lot larger over a course of time. And you are seeing where they are starting to drive policy. So you see it with our utilities, where there is a push to do things under the guise of having access to funds through banks or other, access to the market simply by what it is you produce or how you produce it. So look, my stance is I don't want to see that these social agendas, so to speak, be part of economics. Those are two different things. The consumer is the one who should be determining what the product they buy, not somebody that's 10 degrees away from that decision at a local level. So you get to choose, you get to boycott basically by where you shop and your preferences on those things. But if that's determined for you, you no longer have a voice or a choice.
So what I'm saying is, say a Christian-owned pharmacy, Christian-owned like pharmacy, and they decide that they are going to participate in boycotting because we're not, they don't agree with our that we're not pro-life enough for them. They have that constitutional right to do that. And so say we had a contract with these pharmacies, you're saying because they're boycotting something that is going to be economic because it will affect them, that if they participate in that, then they won't be able to eligible for contracts with us, plus be penalized.
They should. I think we're saying the same things, if I understand right.
No, what I'm saying is, and what I'm really specifically asking is, how do we implement a law that violates the U.S. Constitution? Because that is what this will do. We are restricting folks from their constitutional duty. Constitutional right to boycott. That is in the Constitution. Can't be
so there's a difference
overturned.
Between an economic boycott where you no longer have access to funds or banking or
also against the Constitution.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody's preventing you from boycotting. They're just
I'm
saying
not talking about me. I'm talking about, for
whoever.
instance, the government has said no DEI, and Ben and Jerry's has decided that they will keep their DEI. So that will qualify on what you're saying. Ben and Jerry's has every constitutional right to be able to boycott anything that's anti-DEI.
So they can penalize you. So again,
No, you can't penalize them right now.
Hear me out. Okay. So there have been examples where basically the government has been used to basically close off assets on certain companies because of a social stance. So this is saying you can't do that.
No, this is basically saying that if
No,
they do that, we're going to punish them. That's what your bill
They
says.
shouldn't be able to do that.
Why not?
Do you want your bank account to be impacted because of your social position or stance?
Honey, I'm black. I just started getting a bank account in the late 70s, so that's already in effect.
I'm going to take that as a yes. That
No.
You're not okay with that.
I as long as you don't steal my money, I don't care.
Okay.
But I live in a world that, we've talked about this. That's a little different.
What you're seeing-
Everybody won't loan me money. I'm black. I live in the inner city. So that's already something. So if you're saying we're not going to bank with those entities, then we need to keep our money in boxes as a state, because we use several banks that still practice that.
We've already put in place some protections against ESG scores and things like that. That is what's happening. So you're basically telling people that they have to comply with a certain ideology or a certain agreement on best practices.
No, if I don't like that, I can move my money. What this bill says is, if I, as a corporation, exercise my constitutional right to boycott, the state of Missouri will punish me.
I don't think that you can picket, you can express your opinions. This is not an infringement on your First or Second Amendment or any other amendment rights. It is to say, now you are using and wielding your economic advantage against another corporation to say, because you are...
You mean like Walmart?
Because you are producing plastic.
You mean like Walmart?
Your farmer isn't using... a green tractor, where solar, they plug it in at night, you no longer have access to that market. That's what this is dealing with.
Okay,
we
so maybe
have
you should maybe you should figure, I mean, and I'm just giving a little advice, figure out another way and take the word boycott out, because as long as you have that word boycott in there, it infringes on the First Amendment
Senator,
rights.
I'm always confident that conversations with you will always have a healthy outcome as we deliberate.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, those in favor of Senate Bill 227? All right, seeing none, and
Jeff, that's your cue.
you're in favor, sir? Okay, those in opposition, please proceed. And just to make sure you got a witness form filled out, leave it on the table. Microphone's on. Proceed when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Gretchen Waddell Barwick, and I'm going to move this closer because I'm a shorty. And I am the chapter director of the Missouri Sierra Club. I'm here to submit this testimony on behalf of our 11,000 members throughout the state. Sierra Club opposes Senate Bill 227. This bill would greatly reduce the ability of local governments to respond to the needs and desires of their constituents. It would hinder the ability of the Missouri state government to respond to the needs and desires of the people of Missouri. In addition, they would create new bureaucratic regimes to monitor the behavior of companies that contract with the government. This heavy-handed action would likely cost the state of Missouri hundreds of millions of dollars based on the experience of Texas and several other states. Specifically, this bill disallows the state to contract with companies that engage in boycotts based on the company's desire for greater environmental stewardship, the company's desire to confront climate change, the company's opposition to certain firearm productions, or the company's views on abortion or gender identity. In addition, it prohibits any company that contracts with the state to itself contract with other companies. If these laws were accurately enforced, it would require a tremendous amount on the effort of the state of Missouri to monitor the behavior of these companies. And we would have to constantly monitor the business decisions of businesses at a cost to Missouri taxpayers. Even if monitored effectively, the state would then have to decide whether or not a, quote, boycott was taking place, or if a company decided to not do business with an entity for other purposes. The state would have to set a policy of what is and what is not an acceptable reason to do business with another company. This bill would impose ideological litmus tests on companies and their owners, forcing them to choose between their right to not do business with entities based on their values and business strategies and their ability to do business with the state of Missouri. As Senator Washington said, this is a violation of First Amendment rights. We oppose this kind of litmus test on companies contracting with the state of Missouri. We are especially interested in issues affecting climate change, such as energy use standards and other environmental policies. States and cities are paying for climate disasters while potentially investing in the very industries fueling climate pollution. Climate-related disasters are growing and threaten communities, public health, and in many instances, the infrastructure that are used to extract, process, and move fossil fuels. The Financial Stability Oversight Committee of the U.S. Treasury Department, created to protect consumers after the financial crisis of 2008, has identified climate change as a threat to our economy and has encouraged greater disclosures around climate risks and investments. Companies that take this reality into account in their business decisions should be rewarded, not punished. In the interest of society, to encourage responsible behavior from businesses, prudent business practices require companies to consider their impacts on their communities, employees, and the environment. Many businesses are investing in clean energy sources for these reasons, and they should be rewarded, not punished, for so-called discrimination against a particular industry. Legislation like these two bills, when applied to investment managers who oversee our public pensions, could harm the ability of fund managers to protect their beneficiaries from unsustainable business practices. Worldwide, as nations realize the larger impacts of climate change and work to implement the goals of the Paris Agreement, they are taking critical steps to decarbonize. Increasingly, financial institutions and fund managers are seeing investments in fossil fuels as risky and uncertain. I believe Missourians deserve better than a risky and uncertain future. The worth of fossil fuel companies is tied up in the reserves they hold, and per the Paris Agreement, the growing intensity of the climate crisis, there is an increased call for companies to leave fossil fuel reserves in the ground and invest in cleaner, climate-friendly technologies. In 2022, nationwide damages from climate-related events totaled $170 billion. Hurricane Helene is expected to cost insurance insurers $6.4 billion, with economy-wide impacts reaching $250 billion. In declared federal disaster areas, states and municipalities are required to cost share the recovery, which results in millions of expenses to states like Missouri. Prohibiting institutions from engaging in their fiduciary responsibilities to take climate change into account not only puts individual investors at risk, but also could require state and municipal funds to be used to fuel the next climate disaster. Damages will ultimately be paid for by taxpayers or federal disaster relief. The vast majority of Americans, including the majority of Republicans, think that climate change is a serious problem, that we need to do more, not less, to deal with this issue. They think there should be more investment in renewable energy than fossil fuels, and they believe that businesses with responsible actors should be rewarded. This is not a bill popular with voters. I'm going to skip some of this because I know I'm getting long here, but the fiscal note from Missouri House Bill 1700 in 2024 determined that the bill, which was far less sweeping than this one, as it only covered pensions, could increase unfunded liabilities for Missouri pensions by $7.2 billion. That's outrageous. A public-funded pension investing in a company could only be interpreted as doing business with that company under Senate Bill 227. The reason for these potential high costs for Missourians is clear. The numbers of vendors who are eligible is severely diminished because private actors will still demand reasonable sustainability standards. The reduction in competition has cost states like Texas millions and would do the same for Missouri. A bank that provides services to some clients that run afoul of these litmus tests cannot serve Missouri in this scenario. And these bills do not improve the quality of services or goods in the state of Missouri. On the contrary, they protect special interests and cost taxpayers. The Attorney General would have a broad leeway to enforce these bills, which creates a lot of uncertainty for businesses in Missouri, further shrinking the market. Passing this bill would be grossly unfair to Missouri taxpayers who rely on their government to be good steward of their money. And if this bill passes, it makes the statement that the state of Missouri does not want to deal with the problem of climate change, does not care about environmental protection, and in addition to making that statement, it would impose a large penalty on Missouri taxpayers, as well as local government and state government pensioners. It severely reduces the ability of our governments to utilize the power of the free market and imposes an ideological litmus test on those that do business with the state. Please vote no on this bill.
All right, any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Any further witnesses in opposition? Make sure you fill out a witness form. Proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Smith. I'm representing the ACLU and the Horizon Project. I very much appreciate Senator Carter's passion on the issue and appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with her about this. I certainly never thought I would be up here in front of you testifying against a heavy-handed, big government mandate that insists on micromanaging our state contracting, but that's our sense of this. Americans have always had the ability to use their voice, which sometimes means where they spend their money, as a way to voice their views without being penalized for that by a state. And I don't think any blue city or any blue state should ever look at the businesses or nonprofits in their state or their jurisdiction that are behaving in a certain way and penalizing them for that, even if that is on the other side of the spectrum. Senator Washington brought up a great point, a Christian-owned pharmacy that isn't interested in providing contraception. You may have a company that makes widgets and decides that they would rather not do business with any company that provides insurance to people who are in same-sex marriages. That doesn't mean that that state where they're located should discriminate against them if they're the best darn widget maker in the state. I believe in meritocracy. I believe that the best should rise to the top, and we shouldn't allow any company's social views in terms of whatever they decide to do, however they decide to exercise their voice, to ever be considered positively or negatively in how they're doing their job if they're contracting with a state entity. I'll leave you with a quote from the head of the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry, where a similar bill passed, who said, after much consideration, we realized that this legislation is not only dangerous, but it's totally unworkable. So may have unintended consequences as it has in other states. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions for this witness? All right, seeing none, thank you, sir, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Any more witnesses in opposition? Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jared Hankinson, Director of Legislative Affairs with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, here to testify in opposition to this legislation. I think the point that I will emphasize is the Missouri Chamber's stance that any qualification on businesses' ability to engage in the free market, especially when we're talking about state contracting, we view that as an unfair requirement, an unfair mandate, an unfair business mandate in the state of Missouri. We would like to avoid that. Companies' abilities to engage in a state contract shouldn't hinge on meeting a certain ideological qualification of any kind, and for those reasons, we stand against the premise of this bill. Happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for this witness? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Any further witnesses in opposition? Witnesses for informational purposes only. All right, seeing none, that'll wrap up. No, sorry, closing comments,
Closing
Senator.
comments?
My apologies.
I just want to say that I think, based on the testimony that has been shared, that there is something that we do have in common. We do believe in Missouri on the merits of meritocracy. It should be merit, but that is, we're beginning to see where that is not the case. That these the free market is not necessarily at work. Consumers are being driven. Things are being dictated at the most fundamental level based on economics and social justice issues and things like that. So what we're trying to do is say that is not a case for good business. That's not what's happening in Europe. That's not what's beginning to happen in America. So that is why some states have passed provisions like this, is to prevent it from going to just the very things that they talked about. It needs to be consumers, the Missourians, need to be able to shop with their dollars, their values, and not have that be dictated to them by big business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that'll conclude public testimony on Senate Bill 227. I will turn it back over to the rightful chairman, as he is now with us.
Okay, since it appears that we have enough people here, we're going to go ahead, break for a moment, and establish a quorum. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Here.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis, Schnelting, Trent, Washington. You're the quorum.
We will now move to the next bill, which will be Senate Committee Substitute for SJR14. Senator Mosley, please begin when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. I'm State Senator Angela Mosley, proudly representing the 13th Senatorial District. Thank you for allowing me to present this bill today. I am presenting SJR14, and what this bill will do is current constitutional provisions exempt from property tax all real property used as a homestead by a former prisoner of war who has a total service-connected disability. This constitutional amendment, if approved by the voters, removes the requirement that the former prisoner of war have a total service-connected disability. This amendment also authorizes a property tax exemption for real property used as a homestead by disabled veterans as defined in the amendment. The amount of the exemption shall equal to, have a substitute that you all should have gotten, which changed it to 100% disability. This bill was filed by Representative Alan Gray for 8 years while he was here. He is termed out, and I took on the bill as of last year. So, I have taken any questions for anyone. And the reason for the substitute was to lower the fiscal note because it was kind of high. Any more?
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions? Senator Gregory.
Don't be asking me no questions.
Thank you, Senator. I love the idea of this. I just want to clarify a few questions I have. So this is real property. This is real estate, not personal property, right?
Well, the part about prisoner of war was the property tax, and the part about it's also property tax. Yeah, both of them say property tax.
Not personal property. I think it's just real estate, right? Real property?
Oh, it's both.
It's both?
Yeah. David Griffin has also filed this bill as well.
Okay. And I can see here that we're removing the part that says total service-connected disability.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, here's the personal property is held as, okay. I had one more question.
Okay.
I think I've got it answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further
Senator?
questions? Senator Washington?
Yes, Senator Washington.
Thank you. Hi. Why are we taking away total service connected? What other type of disability would the veteran have?
Say it one more again.
So on page 2,
The substitute or the real.
I don't have the substitute.
Okay. That's nice.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it is still on page 2. It says, and who has, we're removing and who has a total service-connected disability. So why would we be removing that?
Okay, let me see here. All real property is homestead defined by law of any state who is former prisoner of war is defined by law. That's total service connected. This bill matched the bill from Representative Alan Gray. So
The reason I'm asking is because I could have served for 3 years in the military, and then 20 years down the line, I may be disabled from something that has nothing to do with the military. And so just because I'm getting Social Security disability, I would qualify under this, and I don't know if that's your intent. I know other states, that is not what they do.
no, it was the intent is for
Veterans that are
Veterans that
disabled
are
as a
disabled.
result of their service,
Right.
right? Okay. And so maybe we can talk about that a little bit, because no veteran is getting disability unless it is service-connected. It has to be service-connected for them to get it. Now, on the flip side, there are veterans, like my niece, like my brother, who 20 years down the line, they did, the VA did equate their illnesses with their service, so that they were given a service-connected disability. But there is no veteran who receives disability from VA if it is not service-connected. They can't. And so I think if the spirit of your bill is to give our veteran, and I like that part, if the spirit of your bill is to give that property tax relief to our veterans who have been injured while serving, then we can't take that out, because then that means anybody who's ever served would be able to get it regardless of the disability they got. If I got disability from working at AT&T and it has nothing to do with my service, if we take this line out, it still gives me that. And I don't think that's what we intended. I don't know, maybe you did, but I don't, it's not, I couldn't support that if we don't leave it for those who were injured as veterans.
yes, ma'am.
Senator Gregory?
To just clarify with Senator Washington, they're removing total service-connected disability. Total, I guess, is different than just a service-connected disability. Total might be different? Is that?
Yes, so we can just remove the word total. We can remove the
Okay.
word total, but it still has to be a veteran whose disability is
Correct.
based on
I
his
think we're on the
service.
same page. I think the total is. the
Yeah,
key.
so we just
Okay.
need to take the word total out.
So,
But then they add.
Rep
back
Griffin
up.
said he can answer that question.
I would allow that, Representative, if you'd like to provide a little insight here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Representative Dave Griffith. I've served the 60th District, which is right here in Jefferson City, and I'm the chairman of the Veterans and Armed Forces Committee in the House. Senator Mosley was kind enough to find a companion bill to mine, and mine is SJR6. I've been carrying this bill for the 6 years that I've been in the House, and I've got it again this year, hoping it's going to cross the finish line. When I talked with Senator Mosley last year during the interim about carrying a bill and having the bills be exactly the same, and to clarify for you, the bill in its current form states that if you are a POW and a 100% disabled veteran, you qualify for personal property tax and homestead tax exemption. My initial thought and what I'm wanting to do is change that word from and to or. So this will open it up for, when it was initially passed in 2012, it only affected 25 veterans throughout the entire state. Most of those were World War II or Korean War veterans. We're currently down to 15 that are still living. So this bill in its current form would only affect 15 people in the state. By changing the word from and to or, it's going to open it up to around 15,000 veterans. You have to have 100% disabled and service connected in order to qualify for this, or you can be a POW. The number of POWs we have in the state of Missouri right now, we have 2 in the entire state of Missouri. So it's a very, very small number. This broadens it for those veterans. And with the inflation that we've had over the last few years, in seeing that personal property tax and homestead tax exemption is becoming more and more troublesome for those veterans to be able to maintain that. I appreciate Senator Mosley carrying this on this side of the aisle, or the building rather, and be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that clarification. Were there any remaining questions? Senator Lewis?
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too, Senator.
Welcome. Can you? I've got the sub in my hand. Where's the ands that you want to ors? Do you have?
I
that?
just changed the bill. I didn't. There part of it. You'll see. We didn't change it to the and to the or. We just made it. You can be a POW or a 100% disabled veteran.
Okay, and that's in the sub.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think it is.
Okay. If it's for the bill sponsor, let's do it. Now, I believe that the representative is also going to be testifying in favor in his capacity as a veteran and private citizen. So if it's for the senator, let's do it now. If it's for the representative, let's hold off until we get the testimony. Okay. Any further questions for the senator? Seeing none, first up that would like to testify in favor? Now that we've gotten through that formality.
Getting in my steps today. Once again, for the record, I'm State Representative Dave Griffith. I represent the 60th District here in Jefferson City. And I want to speak in support of SJR14. This bill, and the number of veterans that I've talked to over the last 6 years that have really been affected by this, that number continues to grow. And for a lot of veterans, and Senator Mosley, to your point, for a lot of veterans, it takes a long time before they are going to go and sit before a VSO, a veteran service officer, to determine how much benefits that they do have. Once that they get there, they get to a disability. Their disability very rarely goes to 100% right off. So it takes a number of years before they are going to get to that place where they are 100% disabled. And once they get there, this is going to kick in for them to where they'll be able to take advantage of this. my hope is sometime, and Representative Gray, when he was in the House and I served with him for 6 years, he was on my committee in the Veterans Committee. He and I talked a number of times, and the bill that he wanted to look at was really a graduated bill to go from 100% down to 70%, down to 50, down to 30, and down to 10. I talked with him, and I'll tell you the same thing I told him. The fiscal note of what that would do would drive this bill almost to the point where it couldn't pass the vote of the people. My recommendation has been all along that we don't go any below 70%, but I felt like it's important for us to start somewhere, and for us to start at 100%, and then in the future, somebody after me can take this to the next level to 70, down to 70%. The impact it's going to have on counties around the state. I talked with county collectors that are out there, and to the person in the county, they say this is the right thing to do. Towards the end of session, last session, I got a call from my county collector here in town saying if I need to come and testify, I want to testify how important this is. So the fiscal impact it's going to have on counties is going to be negligible. And I would ask your support for SJR14.
Thank you for that testimony. And I'll just say I want to thank you personally for your service and for everything that you've done for veterans over the years. I had the pleasure of working with you on a bill just last year, and I just appreciate everything you do.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions? Senator Gregory?
Feels good to win that. Thank you. All right, just real quick. Representatives, thanks so much. This is a great bill. Page 1, I'm saying this applies to all property, real and personal, and it exempts, as you were saying, you have to be a prisoner of war and be totally disabled, totally. Your intent is to say you can be either a prisoner of war or be disabled. Are you keeping totally disabled, or do you want it to be anyone disabled, even if they aren't totally disabled?
In order to receive 100% disability from the VA, you've got to be totally disabled. You got to be. You got to be.
So we're keeping totally disabled.
It can be that. It can be 100% disabled is with the by service related injuries that you've had, that you received. That.
Oh, so you're either 100 or you're nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
as far as service,
certainly not from.
Yeah.
Well, I will. Okay. Either way, the intent is. I mean, I will support any disability if you guys want to get to that point and if it's vetted out. But either way, I wanted to make sure I understood that.
Okay.
And I don't have the sub, so thank you.
Senator Washington.
Yeah, I think maybe, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. I almost said not to thank you because I wanted to teach you, but because, that's our relationship.
Yes.
But I wasn't going to ask, but I just want Senator Gregory to kind of understand, you don't have to be 100% disabled for VA to award you service-connected disability, correct? That's why you're asking that we go down to 70%, right?
No. You, in order to receive 100% disability, it has to be service-related.
No, that's not the question he was asking. He's asking, like my niece is 70%, but it's still service-connected.
Correct.
And so that's what you're trying to do, is if they are even 70%, then they would still be able to have property tax relief, right?
No, not in this bill.
So your
This
bill doesn't
bill-
do that. Senator Mosley's bill does.
Okay.
Okay. I wouldn't be able to support. I would want it to go down to at least 70%. And the other question I have is, do you have any objection to, we say honorable conditions, to also those who've been discharged by the general discharge? I mean, I ain't trying to award nobody money who had dishonorable, but general and honorable discharges.
Generally turns into honorable discharge after.
No, my
first
brother
service.
never. He
needs to
just
go
was
see.
general.
He needs to go see a VSO.
He did.
Okay.
But he should have got a general. He didn't need to be honorable. But you are of the belief that we do not reduce the disability rate to allow for relief with our veterans.
The bill, in my bill, it states honorably discharged veterans,
Okay, and at 100% level,
100% level.
would you be okay with a 70%?
Not at this time, I wouldn't.
And can you tell me why?
We're talking about 15,000 people, 15,000 veterans that are 100% right now. The number would increase exponentially if we went down to 70%. I don't, Senator Washington, I don't have the numbers of what those are, but I can sure get those for you from the Missouri Veterans Commission, can tell us exactly how many there are around the state. What I'm trying to do is ease into this so that the county commissioners, county collectors, and county commissioners around the state can make plans for it in the future. And if we start off at one point at 100%, we can see how effective that is and how the impact is not going to be that great on their county. I think if we go down to 70%, they're going to be a lot more open to that line of talk than they would at this point.
Okay, and the reason I mention that is because there are other states who do 70.
I know we look at.
I know Texas does because that's where my niece lives.
Yeah, we look at Kansas and we look at Illinois. I mean, they go to 70. Some even go down to 50%. So, but we're the show me state here, and we're going to show them how to do it.
Well, I don't agree. I know in my district I have a lot of veterans because I have a VA hospital in my district, and we have veteran housing there. And this is a big concern with those who are veterans in my district, and there are several who are not 100%. And with our property taxes rising the way that they are in Missouri,
Especially in Jackson County.
in Kansas City, and they're going up 40% more this year. A 70% would be amazing so that they can keep their homes, continue to be employed or whatever that it is they need. But thank you for your comments.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to let you all know that we did drop off the substitute to everyone's office. I'm not sure why you don't have it.
Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else that would like to testify in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Gary Grigsby. I'm from Warrensburg. I'm the Vice Chair of MAVO, Missouri Association of Veterans Organizations. Troy Williams, our chair, cannot be here today. He's in Washington, D.C., advocating. I would like to voice my support and MAVO's support for whatever form comes out of this bill. It is my understanding that the original bill that came it went through the legislative process, at the very last minute, they changed the or to an and in the bill, which it reduced the numbers to nearly zero. It would be, at this time, I understand why Representative would like to have the number at 100%. If we go to 70% or 50%, geometrically, those numbers of Missourians affected will increase. And if that happens, then it'll be a bigger impact on our counties. So whatever form that you finally come to, MAVO will be supportive. We would prefer more veterans to be able to have the benefit as the senator's bill has. One additional thing. I've lost my thought where it was. The total service connected, totally service connected. VA uses that terminology, and the representative did state that. It's but if 100% and or they have POW status, and as the representative said, that number is a smaller number, 2 digits. So with that, I would take any questions. Thank you.
What branch of the military did you serve in?
I was in the United States Marine Corps. I served, I went in my pre-officer training at Quantico. I went back to Quantico after I had graduated college and was commissioned, and went through Quantico for my training. And I am a veteran with a service-related disability. My hearing was tested when I went into my pre-officer training, and my hearing was tested when I exited the Marine Corps. My hearing was at the higher level, and it was at a definite lower level when I got out. And I have a lower back injury that was documented. And it took forever, it seems, for VA to get around to acknowledging that it was service-connected. That's another story, but Congress finally told VA that they needed to process, and I received a phone call 18 months to 2 years after I had originally filed, and VA continually said, we have all your paperwork, we're working on it, we'll let you know if we need any more information. And I finally got a call from a doctor that said, you need to be here this week because Congress says we have to get these cases out of the way. And so it sped up the process.
Well, let me just say thank you very much for your service, and I appreciate you coming in to testify today.
Sure. Thank you.
Any further questions? Senator Washington.
Hi, Mr. Grigsby. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Real quick question. You're 100% now?
Not 100%.
What do you mind, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't remember if I'm 35 or 55. It's
Okay,
somewhere.
but
in
would
that
some property
vicinity.
relief assist you? If you're qualified, if we gave some sort of relief to someone at 30%, would that help you?
Oh, well, of course that would. If I were in the category of a 70%, that would very definitely help me.
But what about if we were to say be able to give you 30% off your property taxes because you are 30% disabled? Would that help you as well?
That would be better. That would help. Yes.
Okay. Do you think other veterans would be amenable to that?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else that would like to testify in favor? Anyone here to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? Seeing none, Senator, do you have any closing remarks?
I received a lot of emails and calls over this bill during the interim, wanting this bill passed, so I'd appreciate your vote, and I thank you for allowing me to have this hearing.
Thank you. This concludes the hearing for Senate Committee Substitute for SJR14. Next, we'll be hearing Senate Bill 37. Senator Washington, begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee. Thank you for hearing this today. For the record, I am Barbara Ann Washington. I'm from District 9, which is Jackson County. This is a very simple bill. We've heard something similar from Senator Lewis earlier, but this bill is specific to feminine hygiene products only. My interest in this comes a lot of ways. I served on a hospital board once, and one of the doctors on the board had just come back from a third world country and commented about that young ladies and women, specifically young ladies, were missing school because of their inability to have sanitary products. I I began helping collect sanitary products to help those continue to be in school. And they are very expensive. And they're something that is required for women until they reach menopause age. My sister is 68, and she's not thoroughly through menopause. Don't ask me why. Maybe because she stopped eating meat. I don't know. But she still has to buy them. She does not have it every month, but she does have them. And so this bill does cover feminine hygiene products. It does not cover diapers, although I'm not opposed to that. So we want to amend this so that the exemption is for feminine hygiene product purposes by 501c3 organizations and homeless shelters and domestic violence shelters. It would help reduce their costs. We do have, just like many cities have diaper banks, we actually have a nonprofit in Kansas City dedicated solely to the collection and distribution and purchase of feminine hygiene products. So this would help them tremendously if they were able to receive a tax credit against that, and it would help most of our shelters as well. Again, this is not a luxury. This is a requirement for women. And it doesn't matter what your economic status is, you have to buy them. And so we don't want young ladies missing school, women missing work, and we don't want them to ration. Do I buy sanitary products or do I buy chicken for my children? So with that, I'm willing to take any questions. Oh, plus 20 states already did it.
Thank you, Senator. So did you say this would only apply to 501c3s, or would this be for individuals, anyone that went to the store?
No, it's not for anybody that goes to the store.
Okay, just for the nonprofits?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the shelters, whether the shelter's nonprofit or not.
Okay. Any questions for Senator? Senator Lewis?
Hi, Senator. So
Hi.
is it you're amending the language to do that, or is that in this
I
right
think
here?
it's already supposed to be in here.
Okay. And then this is
It's not? Okay, so we will amend it to do that.
to just the 501Cs and the shelters.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then
I think that might be more plausible to get it passed.
I get it, yeah. And then it's just estate sales tax, not local.
Correct. We
Yep.
I don't think that I should tell municipalities what to do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
No further questions. Anyone that would like to testify in favor of Senate Bill 37?
Mr. Chair, member of the committee, Sarah Schlemer here on behalf of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. We would like to go on record in support of this legislation. More access to these products cause, like the senator already covered, less absences from work and school, but also if you have to ration these products, you're most likely going to misuse them, which can lead to sometimes very severe health complications. So making sure that there's an adequate supply and removing barriers to get those, we believe is a really great idea. So thank the senator for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else who would like to testify in favor, please come forward.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Michael Henderson on behalf of Consumer Healthcare Products Association, support greater access to these items in favor of the bill. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else like to testify in favor, please come forward. Begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. My name is Kurt Wickmer, representing the Missouri Catholic Conference. We'd like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else that would like to testify in favor? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition? I wouldn't want to testify in opposition to one of Senator Washington bills either. Anyone for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, any closing remarks?
It's a great bill. It'll help women. It'll help our children. And it'll help families overall, because we know if we do not help the woman, we do not help families. Let's pass it. Thanks.
Thank you. This concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 37. With no further business coming before the committee, I now make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? We are adjourned.